Hey,
Hello, how are you?
kind of sleepy with this new schedule, but I will survive.
Yeah, you got the daylight saving time this weekend, something like that. Well, in theory, Europe was supposed to remove it this year. I think this was supposed to be the last time, but I think that since COVID and the pandemic situation, they never prepared the law. So I don't expect this to be the last time we will switch. Hello, Henry.
Hello.
So, should we just start with the only discussion, or is there like a demo prepared for today?
I don't think we have a demo for today. So yeah, I think we can start.
Okay, awesome. So, last Friday, I think, I tested the yes scenario of doing a rollback when the servers are in main, which is very similar to what we did last Thursday, testing when the servers are in drain. And the rollback was successful. The nodes were still in main after the rollback finish, so J. The only action item or slight inconvenience is that for some reason there was an environment running from the day before. So when executing the chatops command to check if a rollback was feasible in staging, this one returned like, oh, it is not possible, or it is unsafe to rollback because there is a deployment in progress. So on that moment, I was not aware of what should I do, so I just continue with the rollback. But I guess this is a situation that can come up again. And I can see that there is already a fix by Robert that it should only, our tooling should only consider a deployment um, that is running if it is the first one. So I think that one is solved. So Jay.
Yeah, I was looking at what happened, and um, we have another way for checking this, which is not implemented in chatops. It's implemented only in release tools. Yay, duplicated code base. By the way, the thing is that for production only, but we can do the same for staging. We have deployment in progress check based on Chef server, so we can check our role on Chef and see if there is if the environment is locked, which is more, let's say, more accurate. I mean, I really, I don't know what to say here, because both have pros and cons, and yeah.
I think we can proceed with the fix that was submitted and then see if it works. And if it happens again, we can consider another strategy.
Yeah, in any case, I don't see, well, usually a release manager should be well aware if there is an ongoing production deployment or not. Staging can be kind of, but yeah, production usually. But yeah, we know that someone else can run it, but I mean, this is not the goal for the first iteration. So I mean, the check is more than enough. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so I have a point based on the basically on the Slack message that you linked, Myra. I'm terribly sorry for the format. Yeah, this kind of, I mean, I have dark mode Slack, and just yeah, I have to remove the formatting. But the thing is, I think that you wrote a message stating that there was some weird information about what's the current package, what's the previous package. Did we, and by we I mean either you or Robert, figure it out what happened there?
Yeah, so it was a tricky situation. Not tricky, it was confusing because I assume we were using the newest pipeline, but we were not using that one because it had a broken build. So we never tagged from that pipeline. We were always using the previous one. And in the previous one, the commits were actually kind of right. And in the newest one, they were like backwards. So what we did to solve it is that I think Robert picked a commit into the newest pipeline, so we tag from that one, but it also failed. So I think we never used that auto deploy branch.
Yeah, but I mean, even if we pick at stuff here and there in reverse order, the commit ID should be different. So let me see. There was an image there. So let me share my screen. Maybe it would be easier. Hello, Robert. So share screen here. So that's the thing, right? So these are the commit numbers. And if I go back to here, so basically current is 1C3 and previous is DCF. Current is 1C and previous. How can it be? Because even if a day was picked in reverse order in another auto deploy branch, whatever, this would be not the commit number, because when you picked, you generate a new commit SHA.
Yeah, but I think it was picked on that branch and it was in the right order in the previous one. The whole puzzle to me is like, why are we using like the previous branch and not the newest branch? But it turned out that, as you can see, it is kind of broken. It has a RAID build. So I think that was the reason why we were not being tagged on that branch.
Let me see. So this was the upcoming version. So in theory, oh, this is even weirder, right? Because this number here makes absolutely no sense, because it's because of the bug that now is fixed. So this commit here is coming from nowhere, basically. Then if you do this compare current to previous, yeah, it's empty because they are in reverse. So how can we, I think we can check this in the environment, right? Because we should see the list of deployments. So this is security, GitLab. Maybe it would be hard to find because it was 3 or 4 days ago, right? So good luck. Stage. So let me try searching for this. No. Give me this 1C3D9. Okay. 2 times. Never deployed, but just created. Okay. Failed, success. And the other one was DCF, right? Yep. Which is 2 times.
The different branches.
Oh.
0402 and
yeah. This is 0212 and this is O2.
208.
Yeah, okay, so well, maybe I'm thinking loud, right? So this should, if there are no changes, even in Omnibus or CNG, even if it's in a new auto deploy branch, we should not tag, because when we go on to in the tagging business, we just take care of the commit SHAs, right? So there are no changes here and there.
Yeah, right now it's doing the update or create matching based on both the branch and the ref. We can make it just the ref if that will fix it. Sorry,
Okay, so that, no, I mean, I'm fine. What I'm saying here is that these are two different packages, but because we track deployment by project, they may be the same. What I'm saying here is that the package, the real package that we installed here and the one that we installed here shares the same GitLab SHA, but Omnibus or CNG must be different. Otherwise, we would not have tagged again. And so in a certain sense, it's fine to track twice because it's a real deployment that happened. This was kind of
Maybe a better indication would be to go to the security omnibus environments, because that will be unique.
Yeah, so we can verify if this is true. So let me try. It's Omnibus GitLab. It's not environments. PSTG. 4 days ago, it should be a failed success. Yeah. So let me see.
So there, if you look at the tag rather than the SHA, it'll show the full.
Yeah, and I was just going to move those things together and check the timestamp. Goes basically 3:40 p.m. Yeah, so this one, because then it's failed success and also should be here, right? Failed success, right? So it's going, so the previous one here has the same same commit here, but there's not the same commit here. So yeah, so it was there was the omnibus changes, basically. That's why we deployed. Okay, that being said, how was it possible for those things to be in reverse? So, do you remember the package that you rolled back, Myra? Because it should be tracked here as well. In theory, this.
It would be in the announcements channel as a rollback.
Sorry, Robert.
It would be in the announcements channel as a rollback. Find it.
Good point. So. No.
I also put it in the chat.
Okay, so which chat? Zoom chat? Yeah. So let me go back here. Yeah. Oh, DCF. Yeah, obviously, because you were rolling back. So it obviously it was supposed to be the previous one. Yeah. Stupid question. Oh, so this is the rollback, right? So because DCF again, because omnibus changes, and then EC3 that failed again, and then this is the rollback. And now, why were we looking at this? Because of the reverse order. not here. Jesus, here. How is this possible? I'm trying to, yeah. Is it possible that maybe, because in both cases we have a failed deployment here for both packages. So something like we were counting the wrong one or not filtering out failed deployment. I don't know, right? Because it doesn't make sense. So I think maybe we were something like close to creating a new auto deploy branch. We had some kind of pile up of different packages, and just the first one that started the deployment won.
I wonder if we can see the previous branch, if we can see if the order is the same. Perhaps the order in the previous branch, that it was the one that was being used.
Okay, we have branches here. We have branches here, so we can do this very quickly. So wait, 12. This is still 12. This is still 12, and this is the rollback from 12. This is interesting. Is this one from 12? Okay, so this is the previous branch. This is the new branch. 0208. And we were looking at this one, DCF here. This is super funny because basically there's more stuff here than here. Oh my gosh. Oh, I got it. I got it. So this is the old branch. And as you can see, there's a lot of stuff here, more than what is available in the other one. So probably these things are old. I kind of expect this to be pigs. No, they were not pigs. So this red pipeline makes no sense here. But basically what I'm thinking is that here, for this was red. So for some, we should check. Oh, we don't. No, we check for pipeline status here. So, but we have the new. So the new code that we have is that if there is a green master pipeline, then we will pick that commit. So what I'm thinking is, I think that at the time of tagging, this was the only one with a red master pipeline. Sorry, not red, green master pipeline. So we picked this. Then 4 hours later, we created a new branch. So this is a cherry pick, so we don't care. This is not cherry pick. So back then, for some reason, this was the only. Oh, let me see, because instead of just guessing, right?
If you open them, so there's always two. There's the one that was green on master that we created the branch from, and then for some reason, the branch pipeline from the auto deploy branch fails, so it shows up as failed. But it was green on master.
Yeah, that's the thing that I don't understand is how did we pick? This is not a cherry pick. So we created this branch from here. So that means it should have been green. Oh, so 3 pipelines. Yeah, that's
so the original one on master was.
Original one was, and then for some, because we have scheduled pipeline on master. Because we were on the full, so it's not something that I mean engineering productivity, they run scheduled pipeline on master. So the last master, they just run a full pipeline on it every, I don't know how many hours. So
do we do that on the security repository as well?
I mean, there are 3 pipelines here and this is scheduled. So yes, I think we run maybe only here. But the point is that this all of a sudden was no longer green as it was at 9:25 a.m., but at 10:07, this was red. So the next auto-deploy picker went backward. Wow. And what happened on top of that, what happened is that we ended up peaking even back because for some reason, so this is the 12 branch, right? So this pipeline is canceled. So what I'm thinking happened here is that at a certain point, we were looking for the green pipeline and we were not able to find it. So we went back. I think this could be a bug. Yeah, definitely. So what happened here is that for some reason, this pipeline was canceled. So when the tagging happened again, instead of saying this was canceled, let me check if it was green on master, which is what happened on the first tag, it say this is canceled. So let me go back in the history finding another green master, another green pipeline. And it reached out for this one here. So we actually rolled it back. We tagged something that was a rollback. Wow. I think we should
deploy to production. Does that mean we can roll back production?
We're
done here. Let's go.
I mean, this is dangerous. I think it never happened.
I'm wondering if it got canceled because of the redundant pipeline thing. Did that pipeline get created within the time it would have taken this second one to run?
I think it was canceled.
Oh no, the main one was
cherry
canceled.
peak.
Yeah, possibly.
No, we never canceled pipeline automatically on. I mean, it was not supposed to be canceled pipeline automatically on.
If they're redundant,
auto-deploy branches. So can we see here?
Yeah, I think
your
it
name,
was as
Robert?
a consequence. I think it was as a consequence of Robert picking an MR into the auto deploy branch. Because the one that failed was the one that got picked.
We should test this. I'm quite sure we disabled this behavior for both master and auto deploy branches.
Do we need to disable that behavior for auto deploy branches?
Yep. Because you never know which one will fail. So if you keep canceling, you just keep picking stuff, canceling pipeline, you never tag anything. Well, this is something to, I mean, let's move into an issue of this conversation and try to figure out what happened here. So if we have a CI configuration problem, or, I mean, Robert, you should remember if you cancel it manually, right? Because you picked something. So, I mean, if you don't remember, it's fine, but it's just.
I mean, I could see me canceling it if we pick something and then I was like, oh, we don't need this pipeline anymore, but I don't remember.
Okay, I mean, no problem. Just we can simply test this. We pick something and we see if it canceled or not. I mean, and then we, in any case, we document what happened and we make sure. I mean, it was really a weird situation to be in, right? I mean, well,
I think it was automatically canceled, or I just pasted the conversation about me and Robert trying to figure it out what happened with the packages. And the last message is that he picked a broken spec fix in that auto deploy branch.
Well, I think we can test this, right? We just see when it is running something, we pick. Yeah, I mean, And we see, because for sure, I mean, we should have seen more canceled pipeline if this was automatic, because we run a peaks in automated way. I mean, it really depends, because maybe it was already green before, but we should have seen this more often. Well, let's, I mean, don't waste more time on, I mean, it's not wasted time, just say, don't, we discussed it. So next steps. I had an item on my to-do list that I wasn't able to accomplish, which is I wanted to build some kind of building something more easily consumable from our failure scenario issue. So some kind of say executive summaries out of it, so that we can double check if we are missing something. I think we test everything we want, every failure we want to test, and when we, otherwise we discussed it and we postponed it, but I think we are there. So I'll take time for doing this, then we can see if there's something obvious missing. Otherwise we can move to dry run and production, and in the same time writing our I mean, it's already there, so I just rewriting or finishing the production change issue, so that we have the green light for testing it. What do you think?
What would be the scenarios for testing in production? I understand the first one is going to be a dry run, so I guess we don't need to prepare a package for it because it will be a dry run. So when we are testing without a dry run, should we prepare a package, like a fake one, with some simple change to roll back?
That's a good question. So the problem with creating a package is that involved kind of a perfect timing around it. So it's really, well, it's really hard. That being said, I mean, we can do something like this. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I was thinking of the downsides and of doing that. I guess the downside is that it is kind of a fake package, so it is not proving that we can roll back. But on the other side, if we attempt to roll back a production deployment, and if this one has migrations and post migrations, then we are not going to be able to do it. So
yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I guess preparing a package is kind of difficult because we need to be organized, but I guess it is also not that extremely complicated. We can just merge a merge request commenting something on a model, and then that will trigger a complete package, and then just cherry pick it and just try to move it forward.
Yeah, this was more or less my train of thoughts when I was thinking about this. But so the point is that this is true, but on one side, you may end up not being able to roll back because of the content of a package. On the other side, adding up building time, deployment time, rollback time, it just gives you a test scenario that runs for more than 1 day, basically. And assuming there are no production incidents, you deployed something that is where you're ready to pick a change on top of it. So it's kind of, I don't know, right? So if we can test this, or we can just say, this is the script we want to run, and we will try to run this change request until we find a good package. So we are okay if it's not today, gonna be tomorrow, or I mean, not just that we move to the next week, otherwise it could take forever.
Yeah, that could work, but since we are getting closer and closer to the 22nd, the more closer we are, the more changes are going to be introduced. So that is going to be difficult to wait for a precise moment.
Yeah, maybe something we could do. No, I'm thinking about, because the problem is that you want to roll back. That's the real problem. Rolling back means that you deploy something that is trivial, like commenting something, and then you go back to the previous state without getting into new auto deploy branch getting created, without, well, it just takes hours. Yeah.
Why don't, anytime we deploy to production in then like the next few weeks, why don't we just run that command that tells us whether or not it's safe to roll back or not? And we could determine how often we may have a problem if we can't roll back. That would provide us the ability to know how often we run into this potential blocker.
Yeah, but Myra had a point here, which we are getting closer to the 22nd. So it means that more things will be merged. Usually things involving big, huge migrations tends to be closer to the 22nd because they get reviewed more and more, and they kind of, and then they feel the pressure that we are getting closer to the 22nd, so they get merged regardless of the status. No, man, this is not true. But yeah, the point is that we merge them usually closer to the 22nd. So
why don't we try to prepare a package and trying to define all the steps that are required, and we see and try to see if they are very convoluted, and if it is too difficult, we can try to think of something else.
So Myra, maybe we can do something like this. So we prepare, we test it for now, right? So we prepare something like this, commenting something, and we have that merge request ready on security so that we can pick it, and we start picking it, right? So we don't have to merge it on master. We pick, so otherwise we get broken state and things like that. We pick it and see if it really create and tags a new package and things like that. So we know that picking something directly on the security, this type of changes just give us a complete full package. And then we know this is something possible. Then when we have a due date, we start picking this on every packages. So that, I mean, not necessarily every package, just to make sure that the picking, we can still pick the change, right? And so that in theory, we have a deploy, and then we will have another deploy that has the fake change. So when we decide that this is the day we're gonna do rollback, we can deploy once, stop the auto deploy branch creation, deploy the fake package, and be ready for the rollback. I mean, I don't know, it's really synthetic, right? So it gives us no confidence in the process other than, yeah, the pipelines works, which we should be already aware of.
So a question for all of you, in case you considered it before, but I might have not followed. So one of the problems that I hear you describing here is that you mentioned confidence, you mentioned things breaking, takes time, and so on. Like all of those are items that are forcing you to kind of lose confidence in the steps. Have you considered rolling back only one part of the whole pipeline? So for example, if you go and select rolling back, if possible, again, rolling back a single sidekick deployment or something like that. So instead of then thinking about the package, thinking about all of that stuff, you figure out a way to just roll back the thing that we kind of know. It actually doesn't have to be sidekick, mailroom. Slow moving service in Kubernetes, relatively independent, and I just got paged. So before I leave, maybe the point I'm trying to make here, you're trying to bite off a huge piece of a mountain. Instead, try to find like a very small part of it and gain confidence in there. And if the answer ends up being Kubernetes is going to make this super easy for us, faster, better, blah, 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 the answer might be, well, you know what? We're just going to focus on the items that are not going to be migrated in Kubernetes anytime soon. Everything else, we're just going to hold off. Everything else being web API and all of that stuff that we know that we're going to migrate. Sorry, I need to leave for the incident. Just let me know in the delivery channel if that was just like a no-go right from the start, or you already considered it.
So this gave me a good idea, which could be, instead of creating a package, we could decide the time frame for doing this, and as soon as we start the production deployment, so not the rollback, the regular deployment, we cancel the post-deployment migration job. This will give us a safe and clean halted production deployment. So by the time the pipeline will actually be canceled, every machine will be rolled forward, but we can safely roll back. So no need to create special packages, no need to pay any attention to things like that. And it give us also extra benefits. It's also covered the case of something went wrong, a broken production deployment, whatever. We are in the middle of the deployment and we want to roll back. Does this make sense?
So we cancel the post-deployment migrations, and then
before it happens, at the beginning of the deployment.
Yeah, before it happens, and then we roll back anything.
Yeah, so because you cancel that, the deployment will go on until the post-deployment migration. So we wait for the deployment to happen. So we basically are running in a kind of situation where it's like canary. From the database perspective, it's like running canary, because you have new code and old schema only regarding post-deployment migration. So this means that no post-deployment migration, so no background jobs, none of those things started. And then we run a rollback. The reason why we wait is because then we are in kind of a clean state, right? Because every piece of the infrastructure reached out the final step. If we want to make it shorter, we could cancel even earlier. So I just say we just want to run Gisli and API, then we cancel everything else. I mean, I would probably consider doing but it is not a real rollback, right? Because basically you're just rolling back a very just one service. So maybe it's just better to roll back everything so that we cancel at the post-deployment migration.
I like that idea. I think it just needs to be well coordinated such that we're not pressured for time or putting ourselves in a situation where something else may go wrong with the deployment that we need to handle, and we're already in an inconsistent state ahead of time. And to address Marin's idea of just rolling back a small portion of our infrastructure, I kind of shy away from that because our goal here is to test rolling back everything. And right now, if we test rolling back just one component, we then put ourselves in a very awkward, inconsistent state across our entire infrastructure. Easy to move forward again, but I'd rather us see us testing the full deployment pipeline, because that's where a lot of our effort comes from in the first place. That's also part of our run books and our documentation for how we want to proceed forward. So I would rather concentrate on that effort, but I could be convinced otherwise, though.
Aren't we doing deployments only at specific days of the time? So, I mean, for the rollback test and production, I would really try to aim for a time where we don't usually do other deployments, right? Because that gives us much more time to prepare the package and do any kind of testing and rolling back and forward. So I guess I would not do it during business times, right?
We are in full control of production deployment time because it's up to release managers. So it's going to be as a team.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, right. Yeah, makes sense.
Thank you, Skarbek, for your answer on Marin question. I do agree, and also I want to double down on this. That so something like mailroom is not even covered in our deployment and rollback pipeline. So it's kind of you change the versioning in Kate's deployment, and then it happens when it's run. So I mean, it is not covered by the goals of this OKR here. So yeah, thank you for taking the question. Okay, so do we have other things we want to discuss here? No one speaking up. Myra, are you convinced that the idea of canceling the post-deployment migration, so rolling back without creating a package, is a good idea? Because we were discussing the other approach, so want to make sure.
Yeah, I mean, in my head, canceling a deployment sounds dangerous. I mean, even if it is just the post-deployment job, but technically it should work. So I don't see why not.
I would encourage that we build up a procedure leading up to this, because if we stop that post-deploy migration, we already know what things impact us in the future, such as omnibus being stuck in a lock state. QA did well. I guess we don't run QA in production. The tracking job doesn't run, that kind of thing. So I want to make sure that we've got all that very well documented in whatever procedure that we're going to follow when we do this.
Do you think the production change issue is the right place for this, or should we write this somewhere else?
I think a production change issue is a very logical place to put this. And that could be influenced by our run books, and vice versa. Whatever learnings we get from building this procedure, we could feed back into our run books as well.
So I'm thinking that we should consider testing this in our dry run idea. So what I'm expecting out of this is that we plan this with release managers. We say next Tuesday or whatever, we are going to attempt this. So please, if you start something in the afternoon, just cancel post-deployment migration. So that when it's time, we can run a dry run rollback. And so instead, we replay post-deployment migration, because in that case, we are not there's no real rollback. So we kind of extend the window of time when we are just running with this, say, not completed deployment, basically, because in that case, it would be a not completed production deployment. Okay, so sounds like we have a plan. Skarbek tapping. Okay, so I will try to summarize this in the issue. Skarbek, do you mind writing the answer for Maring in Slack?
Sure. Is there already a thread going on about this, or just?
No, he just ran away because of the incident. So just please let me know.
I think maybe better. I'll put this in our issue associated with this. That way we could continue the conversation outside of Slack just to make it better.
Okay.
I'll do that. Yeah.
Thank you. So thank you, everybody, and see you next time.